This is a true story. I just came out of meditation and was spontaneously laughing out loud as I remembered the look on one stranger's face. Just for fun, I would like to share that story with you. So here is your first campfire story. It was a cold, rainy autumn day in northern Manitoba, Canada. After 3 days, the sky was still gray, and the drizzle of rain continued to dampen my spirits because this was the very short growing time for the same mushrooms that Mum and I picked on our farm when I was a kid. That day, in the dropping temperature, the rain may have turned to snow at any time. Tomorrow was a work day, so I couldn't lose my one and only chance this year to get another feed of wild mushrooms. Of course, I always had my favorite, but at this time of year I would be happy with just any edible mushroom. I decided, rain or not, that I was going to walk across the street into the woods to a forested area between Princeton Drive and Thompson Drive. The problem was I didn't have a raincoat, so I had to improvise. I took one extra large green garbage bag and cut a slit in the bottom for my head and two others for my arms. The second garbage bag I cut up and tied to cover my head and the other parts over my unprotected arms. I then grabbed a Safeway grocery bag with the intention of coming home with it full of mushrooms and a kitchen knife to cut the soil off the bottom of the mushrooms before I brought them home. Glancing around for a small knife, I was disappointed that they were all in the dishwasher, and so I grabbed the only knife that was left in the wooden block and headed out into the rain. Once in the rain, I adjusted my headpiece to come further down on my forehead so that the water wouldn't run into my eyes. As soon as I got into the dense wood, I hardly noticed the rain at all, and I went from place to place where I had picked mushrooms before, but there weren't any. I almost headed back home when I decided to check one area that had different trees and terrain. Instead of the big pine trees that area had dense shrubs with the last of brown leaves clinging to them. I thought that maybe I would find mushrooms there because the ground was naturally damper than on the higher pine-treed ground. As I got into the thickest grove, I found it hard to find a path to move through the shrubs, so I just dropped to my hands and knees and started to crawl around searching for a mushroom. Any mushroom. With my face literally at mushroom level, I just crawled around, knife in my right hand and plastic bag on my left wrist. I wasn't paying any attention to where I was until the drizzle turned into big drops of rain and I thought I'd better get home. So I just picked up my speed to crawl through the last tangle of shrubs. As I broke through and lifted my head to stand up, there on the walking path in front of me was a stranger, and the look on his face was one of pure terror. He whipped around and did that walk as fast as you can without breaking out into a run, which he may have soon done when he got around the next curve in the path. It took me a second or two to understand why he reacted that way. Did he initially think it was an animal moving through the bush? Could it have been that I looked like a moving pile of garbage bags crawling toward him at a good speed? Or was it the 8-inch blade on the largest kitchen knife I possessed that first caught his eye? Here I am 20 years later and still laughing at the look of horror on that stranger's face, and still smiling at a picture of my granddaughter's face as I dressed her in a plastic bag so we could play in the rain together. This is Valerie's first campfire story time.